曾经是国民投资机构史上最年轻的主席兼总执行长。如今，他成为国内家族财团成功集团创办40年来第一位被委任的非家族成员总执行长。他就是刚上任不到4个月的嘉里尔。到底是在什么渊源下，他会接下这个重任呢？
So what convinced you to accept this offer to be CEO of the Berjaya Corp?
Yeah, so after I left BNB in June last year, and it's exactly 1 year since I left BNB. I left BNB in 15th of June, which was exactly a month yesterday. And when I left the role, I initially wanted to move back to Singapore, but then I thought it was in the middle of COVID last year. So I thought, okay, we'll just stay on in Malaysia for another 1 year, give the kids some time to settle down in Malaysia because they had just moved back from Singapore. And then Tan Sri Vincent called me a few weeks after I left BNB, was asking me about, he said, oh, I read about you and everything. I'm very curious and everything. So yeah, then we started talking about football, then started talking about Berjaya. And then he asked, as a fund manager, did you ever invest in Berjaya Corporation? I said, well, not so much. He said, why? Then I said, it's a very big, messy group. I don't understand what you have and everything. And then we started meeting a lot. I was advising him on the business and telling him that, maybe you should do it this way, reorganize the business. This is maybe what you should focus on. You should not focus on this. You have too much. So that went on for about 8 months. I met Tan Sri every week or twice every week. And he will tell me about various parts and everything, and I'll give him my advice and everything. And then in early March, then he asked me that, I think you should become the group CEO. And I was quite surprised because the whole idea was just to become somewhat like an unofficial advisor to Tan Sri, because I was, I was running my own fund, my own. I was investing my own money. I was doing some other advisory work as well for other funds. So I was quite happy with my time. And then I wasn't very sure. First I said no. Then he said why and everything. Then I said, well, I want to move back to Singapore and everything. So, and it went back and forth. He was very convincing. He didn't take no for an answer. He kept on asking me, you should. And then he said, well, what are your concerns? I said, well, I have a few concerns and everything. I said, if I am to do my work efficiently, effectively, I need to kind of have full empowerment, right? You need to step away from an executive role. I need to have full control. I need to be able to have a very objective view of the business and everything. So he said, why don't you write down all your concerns on a piece of paper, which I did. Then I sent it to him. And then we met the next day. And then he had this paper. And then he said, okay, let's go line by line. So we started on the first line. And he said, okay, what would it take for this worry or concern to go away? And it was a combination of concerns I had. So at every line we agreed on how to take that worry away. So yeah, at the end of the page, and he says, okay, all your concerns gone, so you should join now. So that's when we decided.
So from international asset managers to national service role with PNB and now CEO of a consumer group. In this role changes, which parts do you have to make the biggest adjustment?
I think adjustment was made for every role, right? Going into PNB, I think there was a need to kind of get adjusted to kind of working for a different kind of shareholders, a company at a different stage of development. I also had to get used back to moving to Malaysia and living back in Malaysia. So I think there was a lot of things. But with PNB, it was essentially a fund management company. So it was something I was very familiar with. So in terms of a job, maybe not so much of an adjustment. Then I think coming to Berjaya was a bit more different. It was my first time kind of working as a CEO of a public listed company, and then working for, I guess, what was predominantly a family run company. So it was a bit more different. So I think the adjustment is really coming from understanding the shareholder expectation, having worked for American firm and British investment firm, the expectation from a shareholder perspective was very different. Then you go into PNB, which is government owned. I think there is an element of having to be commercial, but also have to be social. Then coming into Berjaya, there is a bit of a restructuring that needs to be done. as well as growing. So I think different skill sets. But I've been here for 3 months now, and I've gotten used to it. So yeah. First and foremost, I think Berjaya Corp is a listed company, right? And I think people kind of use the term family-run companies a bit too easily, right? Because I think family-run company should be used if you're a private company, you're owned 100%, then yes, you're family-run. But I think Berjaya is majority family-owned, but it's a listed company, right? And I think what I bring to the table is perhaps a fresh pair of eyes, right? I am a shareholder, but a small shareholder in the grand scheme of things. But I bring a fresh pair of eyes. I've seen how other consumer businesses work in Thailand, in Japan, in China, in US, Europe, everywhere else. So I'm bringing that perspective into the group. I'm bringing an objective perspective into the group. I've only been with the group for 3 months, so I don't have any bias and everything. I'm a lot more objective in my opinion. So I think that's what you bring to the table, right? But I think when I took on this role and one thing that I asked Tan Sri was how serious is Tan Sri in wanting to kind of make that change, right? And he said, look, I'm 70 years old. I want to do more charity stuff. I want to promote vegetarianism. I want to do affordable housing and all that. So I want to step down. And that's why I need a professional to run it, right? So I think, and that's why I think the time I had with him over the last 8 months was quite good, because it gave me an opportunity to understand him better, see whether he's,
in or not.
In or not, whether he's consistent, and same thing, him doing it with me, right? So I think and that's why we developed that nice relationship, and then we decided we should do this. For me, this is every job that I've had is a privilege, and I say when I came back to Malaysia to run PNB, absolute privilege of a lifetime, right? Not many people get handpicked for those kind of roles. I was 37 years old. I wasn't part of the system, and to be given that opportunity, I couldn't say no to it, right? Pure national service role, and then to get chosen for this is also a privilege, right? This is the first time in Berjaya's 40 years that somebody not in the family is CEO. And I'm also not the most the obvious choice, obviously, as well, right? So I think in that sense, from a personal perspective, I feel very blessed and honored, because this job, in a way, creating history of sorts. In the previous job also, it was a bit historical in that sense, and because I was the youngest in the role. So the onus is on me to kind of deliver.
You are an experienced manager. So what are the keys for Berjaya Corp and those listed subsidiaries to be darling stocks? Is dividends a key, a must?
I think a dividend is a must, right? I think what investors like is first, because dividend gives some sort of recurring income, so that people like it. But I think most importantly is that you must be profitable, and the other one is that you must be transparent about what you do. And I think one thing that maybe in the past that we have lacked is coming out to the market and telling what we are doing and everything. So which is why when we announced the strategic framework yesterday, everyone a bit surprised, because typically B Corp doesn't really come out and talk about things. But I say no, we must come out and start talking about things, right? And once we come out and kind of put a number and say we are going to achieve this, we must achieve it, because if we don't, then we get punished by the market, right? I think when the time comes, yes, we will, but not now. Like I said, I think priority now is a bit more different. We want to consolidate the company and everything. And after that, ask me again maybe in 3 years' time. I think that would be, like we said, the strategic plan that we have unveiled for the 3 years is really about right-sizing the group, focusing on core businesses, reducing the number of businesses, the way we allocate capital and everything. And that's a discipline that we need to cultivate for the next 3 years. And once that is complete, that will lead us to the next stage of the company's evolution. And that I reckon maybe there's a room for us to discuss about dividend policy, but not now, not for the first 3 years.
According to some announcements, you've been actively acquiring shares from both open market and through business transactions since this March, bringing your total shareholding to about 3.6%. Could this be a strategic move in emerging as one of the group's major shareholder?
No, so when I spoke to Tan Sri, when I was taking on the job, and one thing that I told him in that list of things that I gave is that I want to be a shareholder CEO, not an employee CEO, because I thought if I'm going to take on this job, which is going to be very difficult, I said that I want to be aligned, right? And if I can take the share price from here to here in a period of 3 years, then I want to be able to kind of enjoy that upside as well. Right, so I said I want to be a shareholder CEO. I want to get shares. So, so I also said that I will also acquire shares. So that I show that I put money where the mouth is, and in addition to that, the company gives me shares as well. I don't think it's part of a strategic intention to become a shareholder, but I think it is to show that I'm aligned. Right, so when the share price goes down, I feel it. When the share price goes up, I feel it as well, because I'm a shareholder. And when we make decisions as well, I make decisions not just as CEO, but also as a shareholder, right? Because if a decision is made that will not be in the best interest of minority shareholders, I get affected as well. So in that sense, I'm a shareholder CEO. I'm not just an employee CEO.
So Berjaya Corporation has just unveiled this 3-year strategic plan to transform the existing conglomerate into a consumer group in 5 years. With the pandemic persisting, don't you think those MCOs and FMCO are impacting consumer sectors a lot?
Yeah, it is. But consumer and the consumer sector is not going to go away, right? It will change in the way it behaves and operates, but it's not going to go away. So if you look at our the 5 sectors that we have announced yesterday, one is retail, food. Retail and food is never going to go away, right? No matter what happens, people will still go buy their groceries, their daily things. People will still eat, right? But what will change will be the manner in which the business operates, right? For example, maybe you don't need to have so many outlets anymore, right? You operate a bit online. If you realize, look at our food business today, a lot of our new store openings are actually via drive-thrus. So we've been going to drive-thrus, and because we own a lot of brands, we're not now just opening just one brand. What we do is that we go to one site, we do a drive-thru, and we get all our brands to come in together, right? So that way we reduce our costs, and we're able to have all our brands under one location, and we do it through drive-thru. And drive-thrus have done really well over the last 18 months because of COVID, right? People don't want to be in the outlet, but they want to be able to kind of drive and buy their stuff.
So you expect to divest up to 5 billion assets over 5 years.
Yeah.
So which division constitutes the most? Can you share more about this?
Well, I can't give details on what we plan to divest, but when we went around looking at the numbers, it's a combination of some companies. Like we own 100% of some companies, right? We don't necessarily need to own 100%, right? We can own 70%. If we want to control it, we only need to own 51%. So we can sell down from 100% to 60%. So we can sell down 40%, we can sell down 30%. So that is one source of revenue. The other one is we can also sell some assets, right? Do we need to own hard assets? Yeah? We can sell some, we can monetize some. So there is a combination of stuff. It's either businesses that we can sell down, reduce our stake, or businesses that we can exit, or it's also assets that we can sell. So it's a combination of stuff.